Hey everyone, welcome back to Focus Your Ads podcast. Here we chat about all things related to Google Ads. I'm Glenn, and as always, Dan is here with me today to chat about Google Shopping. And today we're going to focus on search terms. What makes a good search term, what makes a bad search term, and how we can make our ads work better. So Dan, let's start with the basics. What is a search term in Google Shopping?
In Google, a search term is the exact word or set of words a customer types when they're searching on Google. When we talk about Google Shopping, these search terms are really important because they match with your product titles, descriptions, or other info about your product. In short, search terms are the link between the ads and potential customer.
Okay, so let's talk a little about good and bad search terms. The important thing to understand is that a good search term isn't always the one with a lot of searches. That may sound crazy, but instead, it's about how closely it matches what you're selling. Let's say you're selling fancy ladies' shoes. A search term like women's shoes might have lots of searches, but is kind of broad. A more focused term like fancy women's shoes cuts down the audience and is more likely to bring potential customers who want that product that you're selling.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. So essentially making sure we are specific enough to target the right audience. So where do we find these search terms?
Well, to see the search terms that trigger your ads, you want to log into your Google Ads account, of course, pick a specific shopping campaign, and then click on the tab called Search Terms. This report, or we'll call it a report, lets you see what people are typing into Google search bar when ads get shown to them.
That's right. And you can see this also at the ad group level. And just for a note, some of the new user interfaces with Google Ads, you have to find this under your Insights tab. And some of the older ones, it's under Keywords Search Terms. So we've got the search terms. So how do we find the gems and the duds? How do we know which are good search terms and which are bad ones?
Well, we need to look at some key numbers. First, we have a click-through rate. You'll see it as CTR, conversion rate, and the cost per conversion, so CPC. Usually a good search term will have lots of clicks and conversions and a low cost per conversion. But remember, the goal is not just about getting traffic, but about getting the right kind of traffic. If a search term brings a lot of clicks but no conversions, or if the cost per conversion is really high, that's a sign that it might not be a good search term for your business.
Yeah, that makes sense. One more to add in there too is cost per conversion is a good one, especially for a service business. And then also return on ad spend is a great one to have if you're talking about a business that's e-commerce business or sometimes service business as well, as long as you can put a price on each lead, depends on how things are set up. So finding bad search terms is important, but once we've found these, what can we do about it? Like, what can we do?
This is where the negative keywords come in. If you find a search term that isn't working, you can add it as a negative keyword. This tells Google, stop showing your ads for that search term. This helps you save money in the first place and makes your campaign a little stronger, a little better.
So this is where optimization is really important. Monitoring your searches on a weekly or even daily basis is a great idea. The frequency will change depending on how many terms you need to remove. So it could go up or down depending on how many terms you're needing to remove at a time. So the quality of traffic you're getting.
Right. And really, it's a process that never ends. Regularly checking and tweaking your strategies ensures you're targeting the most effective search terms for your products. So now let's dig a little bit deeper and talk about filtering such terms, or search terms, pardon me. The Google Ads interface lets you sort your search terms report in different ways. For instance, you can sort based on the number of conversions, the cost per conversion, the click-through rate. You could also sort based on your keyword text. This lets you see how versions of search terms are doing. So let's say you're selling handmade wooden furniture. You could sort to see how search terms with handmade or wooden or furniture are doing separately. The goal here is to find out what kind of language works best with your audience and fine-tune that ad copy accordingly.
Yeah, I find filters are a really important way to look through your search terms. and adding a filter in and analyzing your search terms from one filter and then analyzing it from another filter, you can really get a good understanding of what's happening in your ads. So filters, super important way to look at your search terms. Now, as we're talking about conversions, as you mentioned, conversions, how important is the conversion rate when it comes to looking at search terms?
Well, it's super important. It tells what percentage of people who clicked on your ad ended up taking the desired action, whether that's like buying a product or filling out a form. If a search term has lots of clicks but few conversions, it could mean that while the term is relevant enough to get the click, something is stopping the user from buying. It could be an issue with your landing page or your price or some other factor. So watching conversion rates will help you identify these potential issues.
So if we want to get even more detailed, can we sort search terms by conversion types?
Yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend doing this. Sorting your search terms by conversion type can offer you some valuable insights. Let's say you run an e-commerce store and track both add to cart and purchases as separate conversions. You might find that certain search terms lead to a lot of add to cart conversions, but very few purchases. This could indicate an issue with your checkout process. On the other hand, you might have searches that don't result in many add to cart conversions, but lead to a lot of purchases. These are likely highly motivated buyers. Understanding the differences and the nuances can help you refine your bidding strategy and ad copy.
Yeah, and one way you can do this is by using the segmentation button. There's a little segmentation button. You go down to conversion action. So I think it's under conversions, and then you go over to conversion action. And that'll allow you to separate it into add to carts, checkouts, or purchases. And then you can really understand what's happening. Because otherwise you see all conversions and you might just see that you had 10 all conversions. And maybe you have one conversion and that's the purchase, but you have the other ones are all add to carts and checkouts. So being able to separate those out into those different groups allows you to now see that you had maybe 3 add to carts, 4 checkouts, then you had the purchases on top of that. So you can, obviously those don't add up, but that's just the example there for you.
That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about understanding the customer's journey and tweaking your campaigns accordingly. So
yeah, it's all about reaching the right audience at the right time with the right message. Remember, in the world of Google Shopping, it's not about who sees your ads, but who finds them relevant. Showing your ads to 1 million people won't matter if none of them are interested in your products. So do you have anything to add, Dan, or are we basically down to the bottom of our deep dive here for now?
No, I think we've covered most of it. It's just important to make sure that you're looking at your search terms, you're looking at the segmentation button, sorting them by the add to carts, checkouts, purchases. Really look at those search terms, filter them. It's super important to filter them. You can now filter and find certain words that just really don't resonate with your audience. Look at your click-through rate, look at your conversion rates, all this information, and put it all together and make decisions on whether you should be adding negative keywords to prevent certain search terms from showing up. And I believe we had an episode not too long ago that talked about match types, so you can always take a look at that. If we didn't, we'll be definitely covered in the future. I swear we did one, or at least it was in one of our episodes we talked about it. So yeah, it's important to look at these different match types and to try to eliminate negative keywords from your search terms. So it's good. So yeah, I think that about covers it.
Okay, so that, yeah, like Dan said, that kind of wraps up our little deep dive into Google Shopping search terms. We hope you found our chat useful and informative. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to discuss in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at focusyouраds.com. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding it helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could leave a review. Your feedback not only helps us get better, but it helps other people discover Focus Your Ads podcast. Until next time, keep focusing on your ads.
Remember, if all this sounds a bit too much, or if you're simply looking for hands-on help to manage your Google Ads while you focus on running your business, don't hesitate to give us a shout. We're not on a big team, but we're passionate about helping businesses like yours nail their advertising goals. Don't let Google Ads overwhelm you. We're here to help. Reach out to us today.